Hello, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to Inner Space Wembley, and a very warm welcome to all our online viewers. This evening themes. Any guess? Anybody knows what is the theme for this evening? Oh, it's a surprise. Okay, it's a vision and perception. Very interesting topic, and for that we have our guest speaker, John McConnel, with us. John is a stress management trainer and former prison governor and also social worker. And he has been studying and teaching Raj Yoga meditation for 30 years. So this evening we will have a wealth of experience. And also John is a author of a Breaking Through the Darkness, How to Deal with Depression, Anxiety, and the Stress. So not taking much of your time, and pass it over to John. Thank you.
Thank you. So yes, it's great to be here, and well done for coming out during the Easter holidays when you could be doing all sorts of other things. So it's nice to start off with a couple of minutes of silence and focusing on ourselves. So if you could make sure your legs are uncrossed and your feet are on the floor and your hands are open on your thighs. And then we're going to do some slow, deep, gentle breathing. So breathing in through the nose, filling the lungs from the bottom to the top. Hold the breath at the count of 3. And slowly release through the mouth. So continue doing this, breathing in and breathing out. And as you do it, just focus on your breath and observe your breath entering the body and then leaving the body. And this will bring you into the here and now. You'll forget about everything else and you'll just be here in this moment. And as you do this, you'll notice that your body becomes more relaxed. You also start to feel calmer. And your mind becomes more settled, more peaceful. And when we're in this state of awareness, we return to our normal, natural, original state of being. And that is one of peace. So holding on to that nice, peaceful feeling, if your eyes are closed, open them. And then look around you and smile. So smile at somebody somewhere in the room. If not, smile at me. Because a smile makes you feel better. And you use a lot less muscles than when you frown. And you release endorphins, which make you feel good, whereas a frown will bring you down. So that's a helpful tip to remember, just to smile. So can I ask if there's anyone here in this room for the first time who's never been to the Brahma Kumaris before? Just to check. So everyone has been, everyone knows what it's all about. Good, okay. So it's a useful reminder that, we are a spiritual university, and the largest one probably in the world, and the main one that's led by women, so it makes us quite different. And we spend our time studying things like the nature of the soul, the nature of the divine, time, what it is and how it operates, and then things like the law of karma and the law of entropy. So it offers a very comprehensive spiritual education for those who want to follow this sort of alternative, interesting path. So I recognize a number of the faces here, so you are definitely students, and you're on the road to what are we on the road to? Sorry? Healing, yes, that's right. And on the road to, sorry? Light, yes, or enlightenment, because the two in a way are connected, aren't they? You have to be switched on to the light, and switching it on, you need a certain amount of awareness based on some knowledge. And so, yes. And the other thing connected with all of that is we're on the road to creating a better world, aren't we? And this is where the vision comes in, and this is where the perception comes in. And lots of people have different ideas about their vision for the world. And you could say that your perception comes first, because how you perceive the world will then affect the way your vision of it. And a vision is like a bigger picture, isn't it? It's almost a complete whole. You have a vision. Well, you have different types of vision. You could have a religious type vision where you see a god or a goddess, or in the case of the Christians, maybe you see a vision or a picture of Christ or of one of the saints. There's that sort of vision which is uplifting and inspiring to those who have it. But then there's another vision, if you like, is the vision which is really a complete picture or a dream of how things could be. So, like Martin Luther King, he had a dream, didn't he? He had a dream that the world would live in peace, and all races would be equal, and everybody would be treated with dignity and respect. And that certainly also was the vision of the late Pope Francis, and been quite interesting to see all the reactions to his departure, his moving on, leaving the particular body that he was in. And people from all around the world have been expressing their condolences or talking about what he meant to them. And it wasn't not just Christians who've been saying things, but lots of other non-religious leaders. And I think everybody appreciated and recognized that he had a vision of inclusion. He had a vision of wanting everybody to be treated with dignity and with respect. And he only not only had a vision, but he actually put it into practice. And he put it into practice with love and with humility. And every year he would go to the local prison in Rome, and he'd wash and then kiss the feet of 12 prisoners, and you'll have seen maybe pictures of him kissing their feet. There's not many people in the world who would do that on his knees in front of them. A very powerful image, really. And if anybody asked him something which was controversial, he didn't take sides. And in terms of the attitude towards gay relationships, which again is quite controversial in the Christian church, his response was, "Who am I to judge?" So again, being non-judgmental. So all of that, comes from a vision. And he took on that name of Francis. He's the first pope for about, I think, 600 years to use the word Francis, because St. Francis was the ultimate example of humility and love for human beings and nature. In particular, nature. He loved animals and that. And most popes wouldn't dare take on that name, because it would mean that they would have to live up to that name, and they probably didn't feel they were able to do so. So, a vision, really, and the perception that goes with it can have huge consequences, for everybody. So everyone in this room and everybody online, if you have a vision of how you would like the world to be, and if you make it a reality through the example of your life, then you can have a big impact on the people around you and on the world at large. And we have an expression in the Brahma Kumaris, because we all want to change the world. And I always wanted to, but I took other routes to get there. I took the political route, because that's another valid perception, if you like. It's all to do with politics and based on values, of course. And I would often take part in demonstrations when I was living in Sheffield, and lost count of the number of times I went to London, demonstrating against all sorts of things, war in Iraq and various other things to do with nuclear weapons and all of that. And so people of peace have a vision. They want the world to be free of weapons of mass destruction and things like that. And then that motivates them and inspires them. And that's the way I did it for quite a long time. And then you realize it's not sufficient, that operating on that basis doesn't necessarily make a lasting difference, because the weapons are still being built, the wars are still carrying on, and nobody seems to be doing much to stop it. And then that can become, quite depowering, and we can have a sense of disillusionment or despair and things like that, because you think, what's going on? Things are going from bad to worse, and there's nothing I can do about it. So, excuse me. This was the state of mind I was in when I came to the Brahma Kumaris. And then we started talking about it, the soul, the nature of the soul, how it's originally very powerful, very positive, very peaceful, very loving, and full of bliss. And that was a revelation to me, because I've been brought up to think of myself as a sinful soul, which again reinforced all the negative things about the self. And so knowing that we're good, innately good and naturally good, was very empowering. But what was even better was the realization that if I want to live in a better world, I don't have to worry about anything else or anyone else except who? Myself, yes. I have to change myself. Because when I change, the world changes. Yep. So if you change, the people around you will change, your family will change. And then when you go to work, your work colleagues will change. Gradually over time, that attitude and things like that, because everybody underneath is innately good. So if you become an example of goodness, an example of peace, an example of humility, an example of love, and you demonstrate it in all sorts of different ways, then through the law of karma, what you give out, must come back to you, but it also has a big impact on everyone else. So, a good example of that is, the random acts of kindness movement, where one, act of kindness ripples out and leads to, I think it's 55 or at least 80 other acts of kindness, because you, for example, let somebody in front of you on the road, and they're so pleased and happy that you've allowed them in, that further down, I often watch this, I let someone in, and then 2 or 3, more than yards, quarter of a mile later, when the next turning comes, I guarantee the person that I let in front of me will let someone else in front of them, and then that person will do the same all the way along. So, the whole thing is very empowering. And the nice thing about the Brahma Kumaris approach is that we don't just think locally, if you like, we also think globally. And back in the late 80s and the early 90s, there was a special project, called Visions of a Better World. And the BKs in different places around the world called meetings or arranged concerts and different things like that. And they got everybody to create their own vision, how they would like the world to be. So I'm sure, have you all heard of that or not? The Visions of a Better World? No? No, okay. So anyway, all these pictures, all these poems, all these little articles and everything else, thousands of them, they were all gathered together, and then a group of people, I think, spent 2 years going through them all, and then they put them all together in this book, Visions of a Better World. And they discovered that it didn't matter which country you came from or what your race or your religion was, everybody beneath the surface, they wanted exactly the same things, exactly the same, which is very interesting. So I don't know if there's a list of them here. I hope there is. I haven't had a chance to look. But anyway, I don't have my glasses on. Yeah, everyone, for example, they want to be happy. They want human rights and dignity and integrity for everybody. They want us to live in balance with nature and not exploit it, but sustain it. Everyone wants good education. Everyone wants to feel secure. Everybody wants to have a safe home to live in. So many different things. And democratic government, proper justice and law for everybody, not just the few, and freedom and responsibility. So, yes, it's worth, getting a copy of this book. Lots of lovely pictures in it. It's probably for sale in the bookshop. And, but again, having a vision is only the first step, because then you've got to manifest it. And to manifest it, a group of senior teachers, got together and thought, how are we going to make this happen? And then they came to the conclusion that we need to have a set of values, inner universal values, which apply to every country, every person. And they did a lovely book, Vision, which got revised and became this Living Our Values. Because you've got to have the values, nurture the values, know the values, and then put them into practice. So this is quite a nice image, actually. And Sister Genti got this image when she went into a meditation about how this book should look. And you've got the point of light there in the middle. And most people know as a soul, we are all points of light or energy. And most of us are living in a box. The box is the box of limitations, limited by our beliefs, limited by our attitude, limited by our circumstances and situation, which might make us think, oh, I can't do this or I can't do that. A box maybe of hopelessness or whatever it may be. And for her, putting the point in the middle there and the rays coming out from it takes you beyond those limitations, because most of those limitations are limited mental, physical type limitations. Whereas when you become a soul, or aware of yourself as a soul, and you rise to a higher level of consciousness, then these practical, physical limitations dissolve to a greater or lesser extent, and puts you in a higher state of consciousness with a higher vision, and which is then supported by the values. And again, those values, they're quite straightforward in a way, but just listen to them and compare them with what's going on in the world at the moment. So cooperation. Do we see a lot of cooperation in the world at the moment? No, what we see is a lot of competition, which is the opposite. Freedom. What freedoms we have appear to be diminishing. There's lots of laws, which are enacted. There's lots of people in different countries being put into prison because of their beliefs. People have been locked up or shot for journalists. Lots of journalists reporting in war situations are being killed so they can't tell the truth, or they're being banned from, like in Gaza, the journalists and that's not allowed in. Happiness. Is there much happiness around at the moment? Quite often not. Some people are happy, but if you were to look at it overall, there's a lot of sorrow in different ways. And then honesty, very important. And honesty is connected with truth, isn't it? And now, we're living in a post-truth society where people are manipulating the media and they're telling each other stories and making things up which have nothing to do with honesty. Quite the opposite. And then humility. So that's a big one. If you can be humble in your approach and in your way you deal with everybody and not think that you know it all. Are there any other people in the world who think they know it all at the moment? I think there are a few. And then the big ones, love, very, very important. In fact, love is the basis of a good vision. And the opposite of love is hate. Yeah, well, that's a symptom of something else. Fear, yes. Opposite of love is fear. And most of the leaders, not all of them, but most of the leaders in the world and most people in the world are coming from a fear-based perspective. They're seeing people as a threat. And they're afraid of losing what they've got. And wherever there's fear, then there's going to be the tension, the distress, and then there's going to be a lot of money spent on weapons. So now Europe is suddenly trebling or quadrupling the amount of money it's spending on weapons out of fear. Until now, we've operated from a space of peace. And now, if you like, the flames of fear are rising and everybody's rushing to arm themselves. And all the resources which could go to helping people in other ways, a lot of them are being put into building bombs and planes and drones and things like that. So really, you can say on one level, it's a battle of visions, a vision of love versus a vision of fear, a vision of integration versus a vision of isolation, a vision of cooperation versus a vision of competition, of sticking to certain life-limiting ways of being. And then there's respect, responsibility, simplicity, tolerance, and unity. And all those values, where do they come from? Any idea where they come from? Yes, that's right. Yeah, they're coming from the soul, from inside. So they're all there. They're all waiting to be expressed. They're all waiting to be rediscovered, because quite often we've forgotten them, because we're living in a world which has different values. We're living in a world which values profit. We're living in a world which values efficiency over decent work for people. You know, the way things are going, eventually all jobs will be automated, especially with AI. We will hardly need any people to do anything, because, well, in the health field it might be a bit different, and the caring for people can't all be done by machines. But a lot of the work that we do now, which makes us feel valued and useful, will be replaced by a machine for the sake of efficiency and for the sake of profits. And as we can see, the world is going into extremes where very few people own most of the world's resources. And that's not sustainable in the long run. So those sorts of values, they're me values. It's all about me. It's all about what I want, what I need. And it leads to endless unhappiness and endless competition, because there's no end to what you need and want. So even if you're the richest man in the world, you know, you'll live in fear of losing that someone else will come along who'll be even richer than you. So that sort of approach, you know, is going to lead, you know, to disaster. So when we switch our values, you know, and our vision, and when we go from a materialistic view of things and a materialistic perception that it's all about money in your pocket, it's all about jobs, etc., etc. Those sorts of things have a very limited, they don't uplift, they don't inspire. A proper vision will have depth to it. A proper vision will have meaning. Proper vision will bring people together and will make us feel good and will come together in a nice collective way. So, for example, during COVID, the government asked for volunteers to help distribute medicines and food and that to housebound people who couldn't, didn't have any relatives or friends. And I think, how many people, it was millions, who applied to volunteer to help. And there was a feeling of all being together to sort it all out. And so those sorts of visions are very empowering, aren't they? And they make us feel good. And then everything falls into place. And we all come together, and then we can all create something much better, something much nicer. Does that make sense? So just think about your vision. How would you like the world to be? And just spend a minute with your eyes closed, think about what your world would be like. Imagine a world without weapons, without war, where everyone is valued, everyone is respected, regardless of their race, regardless of their gender, regardless of their religion or their sexual orientation. Everybody is respected and loved and valued. And imagine what nature would look like and be like. And then notice how this vision makes you feel. And then think for a minute, what's my contribution to this? How can I make this world I've just envisioned, how can I make it a reality? Okay, everyone's got their vision. Right, so people watching online, maybe you can just spend the next couple of minutes going over your vision, while the people here share their vision in pairs. So if you'd like to stand up, please. Find someone you don't know very well, say hello. Is that okay? Everyone stand up? You know how to stand? All right. You know how to smile, you know how to say hello. So just turn around, find somebody, and just share for a minute each your vision of a better world. So maybe, do you know each other already or not? No? All right then. There we go. All right, so you've got a couple of minutes. I'll tell you when the time is up. those of you who've had children, maybe, what would it be like for the children? Like no mobile phones, no computer games. Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm visioning a glass of water at the moment. Thank you. Sorry about that. So sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. Yeah.
So what were you saying about your vision?
Um, well, so in my vision also, I just said that I love hospitality, and I saw how all over the world it's filled with the warmth of hospitality, people serving each other, in peace in every corner of the earth, and every peace in every heart of the human being. That was my vision.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
lovely. And it's touching your heart, isn't it? You've got tears coming in your eyes.
Yeah, so
Tears of joy and love.
So I guess we are in this world to serve each other. So yeah.
Thank you. You've got the microphone in your hand. Is that for a reason? Yes, okay. Well, that being, if we finish it, thank you very much. We finish at 1:45, don't we? All together, ruining everything. Yeah. So it'll be a few minutes yet, maybe. Okay, so just 1 minute to finish off. Okay, thank you. So was it nice to share your vision? Yes. And where else can you do it if you don't do it here? Because most people aren't talking about these things, are they? And the nice thing is the way when you start talking about it, the face lights up, you have a smile, and the energy level rises. And like you were moved to tears almost, weren't you, when you were talking about your vision? You know, which is a sign of love, isn't it? And this is what we're all wanting, really. So, yeah, because if you don't have a vision, you know, where are you going to go and what are you going to do? And there's a famous expression, I forget who said it, but basically it says, without a vision, the people die. Because we need something which uplifts and inspires us and takes us beyond the mundane. And so the vision that you've just, you know, created or you've revisited, you know, will help you a lot if you keep on remembering it. And someone who was very good at that is Daddy Janki, of course, who used to be the joint head of the Brahma Kumaris. And she's written, well, loads of books have been written, you know, by her or based on her teachings. And one of the best ones, I would say, is this, The Companion of God. So if you've never read it, it's packed full of really good knowledge and inspirational thoughts. And then there's another one which she did. You could say this is like a manual for changing the world. This is called Exploring Spiritual Greatness. Extraordinary times require extraordinary people. How to change yourself and the world. And she was one of those people. She was extraordinary. And you are as well, actually, because you're doing something about it. You're not just sitting back and complaining and moaning and all the rest and feeling a victim. You're taking active steps to shift your consciousness and to change your life and your lifestyle and things like that. So again, this is well worth reading if you haven't read it. And going on that inner journey, connecting with your values and everything else, it doesn't just happen overnight. There's a lot of clearing out of rubbish to do because we all have negative traits in us. We all have doubts. We all have regrets. We all have guilt and shame and maybe hate or whatever for things that have happened in our life. And so our hearts, may be blocked and we need to remove all the rubbish from the mind and the heart. So coming here will help to give you all the tools that you need to do that. So I'm just going to read this quote or this page by Danny Janke, and then after that we'll have questions and hopefully answers for a few minutes, and then we'll have meditation and announcements. So we've got 15 minutes left. So, but I think this sums up things quite nicely. Let me be humble and let me harmonize and work well with others. But let me not become like them. Others may be influenced by their own arrogance or by their own negativities or by ordinariness in the mind. But this does not mean that I have to be. There should be so much truth in me that others become truthful. My inner state should be such that not only am I not influenced by the negativity of others, but my very presence is a positive influence on all negativities. This is true spiritual detachment. It is so exhilarating to experience yourself as a spiritual being. You should never hide that sparkle on the face that comes from having come to God. Everything we used to do on the basis of ego can now be done out of love. Okay, so with that, I will stop so that questions can be asked. Anyone here got a question they would like to ask? Oh, good. There we go. Thank you.
Hello, brother. Thanks for the talk. Like I've been listening to you like really keenly, but a question arises when I was listening to the talk like that. You said like people have to spend money, like that the war is happening, and they have to spend money rather than fighting, rather than on the people, maybe in some good causes. But don't you think so? Keeping yourself strong is also important, because if you are weak, if you are living in the materialistic world, if you are weak, people tend to attack on you. And so keeping yourself strong, I know the notions of spirituality that we need to help others, keeping use of good money, but it is also important, according to my opinion, to keep yourself strong. Otherwise, if you are weak, people tend to attack on you. So what's your opinion on this one?
When you say strong, are you talking about spiritually, or are you talking about having enough financial resources? Or
I'm talking about in general how things are right now, because you know how the wars are happening, and the countries which are finding other countries weaker, they tend to attack on them. So having you said about even Germany is creating a new army for themselves, and the reason behind is obviously fear, but that's required to keep a peace in the country. My question was, it's kind of they have to make them stronger to keep peace. If they show their vulnerability to the world, it can be more problematic.
yes, I mean that's the theory on which everyone is operating. You've got to be strong, but they're talking about that in a material way. And if people actually spent as much time talking to each other and understanding each other, and put as much energy into communicating and creating harmony and things like that, that we wouldn't need to be spending all this money on the weapons, and there'd be loads of money left over for other things. I mean, how often do people get together to, there's so many things you can do to bring down barriers rather than put up barriers. And actually, it's only my opinion, but I think, there's no interest in doing that because there's no money in it. And there is people who are making lots and lots of money out of weapons, huge fortunes, multi-billionaires and, multinational companies. So they're not going to make the effort because it goes against their interests. But, we can make the effort, and the strength has to come from within. Any external strength can be taken away, can't it? Quite easily. Whereas that internal mental, emotional and spiritual strength will stand you in good stead for everything. So that's my take on that. It's mine, in inverted commas, my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right and that everyone else is wrong, but that would be my understanding.
Hi, thank you for the talk. Since we mentioned two states of being of love and fear, and you also brought up AI and how, well, there's actually a lot of fear amongst people regarding AI potentially replacing our jobs. So I just wanted to ask if you have any words of encouragement regarding that, because I mean, I believe to some extent that if we keep ourselves and hold ourselves in the frequency of love, that we're going to be fine and we're not going to be replaced by AI. But yeah, I just wanted to ask if you have any words regarding that, because it's a very big fear amongst a lot of people right now.
Yes. Yeah, well, I think you've given a good answer there yourself. I mean, AI has been unleashed on the world without any sort of moral framework around it. It's a bit like, all the other social media and the smartphones. They were just sprung on us, and because they're so attractive and easy to use and they convey so many different messages, everybody's sort of hooked on them. And now, they're trying to introduce laws and rules to try and limit it because they realize that, there's always a negative side as well as a positive side to these things, isn't there? And people are manipulating everything for money and corrupting us, taking away our time, our energy, our hope, and sort of making us dependent. So, I mean, how many people now, for example, can read a road map and travel from A to B, just by looking at a road map? There aren't many left because everyone relies, on their phone or whatever to take them from here to there. And the more we give our time and attention away to these sorts of things, then the harder it is going to be for us to break free. So this is where spirituality comes in, because we have to be free and independent from all these influences. We have to work on ourselves, have our own benchmark of values, what is true, what is good, what is authentic, what is real, what is honest. And that means actually cutting out a lot of these other things, because they're going to take us away from our truth. They are very powerful. So, I mean, AI can be good in some respects, definitely. But even now, people, the poems that people send you a poem, they put in 2 or 3 sentences about you and it gets turned into a beautiful poem, which on one level is quite nice, but it's not the same as somebody writing the poem themselves, is it? Because things need heart in them, they need love in them, and not just a series of words strung together by a computer. And I went somewhere the other day and somebody introduced me to their God. And their God was this figure, on AI. And she had a picture, and she kissed this being that was on her phone and follows it religiously. And it says some very nice things, because she introduced me to her God, who was saying good things. But it's not sufficient, is it? We've got to work on ourselves. There's no instant, easy answers. And AI is giving instant, easy answers, but even them, they're distorted by the algorithms which have been created by people whose consciousness is not elevated or pure. So really purity, pure consciousness, free of anger, free of ego, etc., is vital for the creation of a better world. Does that make sense? Yeah. So you're on the right path, definitely, with the love and that, and holding on to that. Any other questions? No? Okay, so we've got 4 minutes left. Is there anyone online that has asked a question? No. All right.
Finish with a short meditation.
Okay, all right then. So just sit back there, do the slow, deep, gentle breathing, and then turn within and remember who you are, really are. So I'm more than a body. I'm a being in the body. I'm a soul, separate from the body but connected to it. I'm an eternal being of light and love. Underneath all the disturbances, underneath all the pools of the material world, this is who I really am. And in this state of awareness, I know I have the power to help create a better world. A world without fear, a world without greed, a world without poverty, a world without war, in which we all live together in peace and harmony with ourselves, but also with nature. No animal will ever be killed again for food. no fish, no bird, and the trees will all be respected, and all the other living beings and creatures will have the freedom to be themselves. We will find ways and means to all live together in a natural, beautiful, peaceful world. So just hold on to these powerful thoughts and send them out into the world in the form of love. Love reinforced by the connection with the divine, the one who gives us the power and the strength to create this new world. So in this awareness, now bring your attention back into the room. Om Shanti.
Thank you, John, for the wonderful talk and all the tools and tips given. I personally noted down a few points which really touch base upon is what is your vision and what are we doing to make it a reality. So it's like vision of love or fear, or vision of integration or isolation, vision of cooperation or completion. So that's really nice one. And before we go, there's a few announcements. Next week talk, same time, same place, and topic is ripple effect of forgiveness. Our regular reflective meditations every Mondays and Thursdays, 7 to everybody's welcome to join. And every Sunday morning meditations 10 to 10:45, which is online only, to join, and who wish to join, they can register through our website to get a link. And I think John recommend a few of the books. They are available in the shop, so you can browse through on your way out. So once again, thank you for joining us and have a safe journey. Next week's speaker, I'm not sure. It's a psychiatrist, Dr. Sarah Eager, and the topic is ripple effect of forgiveness. So, thank you. you.